Motherfuckers be gay in Hollywood, you never fucking expected. They be having these big ass mansion parties, and the mansion party, the whole mansion is a party, and then it's a separate party in the little rooms. I ain't been famous that goddamn long. I'm excited in a motherfucker to be at the mansion party. You be looking at all the goddamn rooms, and you fuck around and look in the wrong room and shit. Nick, come here, come here. Is that two niggas kissing?
And it all stems, he says, from what happened at these lavish, drug-fueled nights called Wild King Nights. So this 32-page lawsuit, which was reviewed by multiple outlets, including Rolling Stone, was apparently filed in Los Angeles by a man named Philip Pines, who says he worked for Diddy from 2019 to 2021. So actually more recent than some other suits we've seen against Sean Combs that have been in the early 2000s or even the 90s. But according to reporting in the suit, Pines is alleging a few different things here. Now, before we even get into it, and there is a lot to get into, you might be wondering, what the heck does that name mean? What are we talking about when we said Wild King Nights? Well, part of this lawsuit alleges that Pines had to prove his loyalty to Sean Combs, who was dubbed the King, by performing sex acts for him, hence the name Wild King Nights. The suit even reportedly says that Pines was treated, quote, like an animal playing fetch in order to prove his loyalty. He says that Diddy instructed him to prepare spaces with these specific items. Quote, plaintiff was instructed by Sean Combs on multiple occasions to ensure his personal bedroom and or various hotel rooms were set up with red lights, ice buckets, alcohol, marijuana joints, honey packs for male libido, baby oil, Astroglide, towels, illegal drugs, and I'm sorry to say this, power banger sex machines. That's the way it's categorized. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Astroglide is a lubricant, and also on that list allegedly was an erectile dysfunction drug called Cialis and the morning after pill. So these party supplies, he says, were kept in a bag called the MVP bag. According to Rolling Stone, who says it reviewed a copy of the lawsuit, Pine says he couldn't just leave the supplies in the hallway and walk away. No, he alleges he had to be let into the room, meaning he ended up seeing what was going on behind closed doors, so to speak. By the way, as you can see from a lot of the stories that we cover on Sidebar, it just goes to show you how important personal safety is. And by the way, that is especially true when it comes to protecting your privacy online. I think you would be shocked at how much of your personal information is out there, like your address, your phone number. Do you ever wonder why you get so many spam calls and emails? That's because all that information is all public. But that is where our sponsor, Incogni, comes in. So this is a service that helps you take control of your online privacy by removing your personal data from data brokers, the huge companies that sell and trade your information without your permission. Here's the kicker. These data brokers have to remove you from their database if you ask them to. Now you're thinking, I don't have time to call a data broker. Well, again, that's where Incogni comes in. They contact those companies for you. You don't have to do a thing. And then they alert you once that request has been completed. So I highly recommend giving Incogni a try. And right now, anybody who uses code SIDEBAR and Incogni.com/sidebar gets 60% off of an annual Incogni plan. Now, Mauricio, there's something very interesting here I want to talk about is that Pines makes mention of the fact that he was exposed to what was allegedly going on inside these rooms, that he couldn't just drop the stuff off and leave. If those allegations are true, how does that impact the strength of his claim, the strength of this lawsuit? Because allegedly he's a key eyewitness.
He's a key eyewitness, and not only that, but he says that he was forced to look at the videos that memorialize these parties and these events when he was scrubbing the videos off of his phone. And he actually says that he was intimidated and threatened that if Sean Combs' family were to ever find the videos or images, that he would never work in the industry again. So not only was he live seeing the actual events that occurred, but he was also referenced to have to look at the videos and images that were when he had to scrub.
Consistent with what the allegations are that are laid out by prosecutors when they describe the freak-offs in their indictment, right? These sex-fueled parties, these drug-fueled parties, the baby oil, the Astroglide. And it makes me wonder, A, do you think Mr. Pines is a cooperating witness for the government? B, if so, do you think he was one of the people that they originally spoke to when they were coming up with this, when they were drafting the indictment and coming up with the charges? Or do you think he's come out after? Because, again, I think the timing of the lawsuit's important, too, at the end of the year, right now. Talk to me about what you think his role might be.
If I had to guess, I would figure that the feds already talked to him, just because I know from my experience dealing with them how all-encompassing their investigations are. And if he really was his executive assistant from the time frame that they allege in the lawsuit, I can't see a scenario where they wouldn't. I mean, they investigate regular cases to the point that that I'm shocked when I see it as a criminal defense attorney with regular people. When you're talking about a high-profile celebrity case like this, I can't fathom that no one spoke to this individual prior to this. So I would think that they did speak to him, and I can't imagine that he's not a witness, because the way that they work is they want everybody that can corroborate their theory of the case to be on their witness list or to be somebody that they could call. And I can't think that if he actually was his assistant for this time frame, he would be an excellent witness for them.
And because the government says, it was a racketeering conspiracy, it was a criminal enterprise. He had associates of his who would set up these events and also clean up these events, which, by the way, let me get back to this lawsuit. Because Pine says his role didn't just stop at preparing this. He also says he had to clean up these rooms afterwards. And the cleanup is not any less disturbing. According to the lawsuit, plaintiff would remove any evidence of drugs, condoms, sex toys, remove bodily stains like blood, urine, and fluids from any sheets, furniture, and pack away all the items used during Wild King nights. And all of this cleanup, he says, was also part of a cover-up so that no one would suspect anything was going on. And that alleged cover-up also included leaving very large tips for the housekeeping staff to essentially prevent them from reporting anything. And going even further into the duties of his supposed cleanup, this also extended, as we were talking about, to wiping Diddy's personal devices of any evidence. According to the lawsuit reviewed by Rolling Stone, plaintiff was further instructed to scrub Sean Combs' personal devices, including but not limited to personal phones, laptops, tablets, of any compromising videos. And by the way, unfortunately, in doing so, he says he was once again unwillingly exposed to the alleged conduct that was occurring. In order to accomplish this unreasonable task, plaintiff would have to again unwillingly see the video.
Comedian Dave Chappelle left tens of millions of dollars on the table when he walked away from his popular Comedy Central show. A lot of people wondered, what the hell was he thinking? And that's a quote. Chappelle says whether he was thinking. A lot of people ask that question. Chappelle says he had a crisis of conscience and stood up for his integrity as an artist. He explained to us how stepping out of the spotlight helped him avoid getting caught in a trap.
It's so much bigger than money, though, Dave. It's so much bigger than money.
Oh, no, it was bigger than money. But you know what? I watched one of these nature shows one time, and they were talking about how a bushman finds water when it's scarce. Mm-hmm. And they do what's called a salt trap. I didn't know this. Apparently, baboons love salt.
Okay.
So they put a lump of salt in a hole, and they wait for the baboon. The baboon comes, sticks his hand in the hole, grabs the salt makes his hand bigger, and he's trapped. He can't get his hand out. Now, if he's smart, all he does is let go of the salt. Baboon doesn't want to let go of the salt. Then the bushman just comes, takes the baboon, throws him in the cage, and gives him all the salt he wants. And then the baboon gets thirsty. The bushman lets him out the cage. The first place the baboon runs to is water. Bushman follows him, and they both drink to their fill. And in that analogy, I felt like the baboon. But I was smart enough to let go of the salt.
So why did you believe in these cases, and why didn't you believe in others that you were presented with?
Well, the thing with a abuser, a sexual abuser, is they follow a pattern. They fall to type, and you become very clear on what that pattern is, particularly a serial sexual abuser. And these cases were all identical in the facts, identical in the story. It was beginning, middle, conclusion.
They know each other?
Boom. None of them knew each other.
Did you have them meet?
No.
Did you have them coordinate stories?
No, no.
Do you think they had any contact with each other before they came to you?
Absolutely not.
And when you were talking to them, well, first, the ones that you didn't take, why not?
Stories didn't make sense. Stories didn't fit the pattern. Stories were not credible. I mean, this is my 30th year as a lawyer. I've tried over 100 cases. I can assess whether somebody's story is credible. And if I don't believe it, I'm not going to put my name on a pleading, sign it, and file it in court. I'm not doing that. And that's what I did with the 60-plus cases that I rejected.
And this is not really your area of expertise. If people look you up, celebrity lawsuits is not really where you make your bones. Why this?
Well, I was involved in the Weinstein litigation. Right. I was involved in the Paducah litigation. I was involved in the Hayden litigation. Why did I do this? I do this because it's important. I think it's important for people to be heard, have their chance to get the power back. Because sexual abuse, sexual assault is about one thing: taking power, humiliating, demeaning a person and a victim. It has nothing to do with sex. And so I think it's important. I think it's important to get the word out. I think it's important for men to feel, hey, look, I can come out and be heard just like a woman could.
And the defense that, look, they knew what they were getting into. These are regrets. They went there, they partied, and now they see a pocket.
No, I don't think so. My client
Were they gay men?
One was bisexual, the other ones were not. And they were going there. The client was bisexual, worked for Diddy. Diddy owed him money for doing errands for him and being his step and fetch, for lack of a better word. And I think it was a power move. It was a clear power move because this guy had the nerve to come to him and say, you owe me money. And so Diddy said, come on to the Intercontinental Hotel. He gives him the drug, knocks him out, sodomizes him. And I won't use the term that my client used, but he said he tried to turn me into his B word. And I think it was a clear power move on each and every occasion. I think the ones that took place in the Park Hyatt, that wasn't partying. My client met him at a nightclub in the city here with a music producer. He didn't think he was getting into that. The man who was raped in the Hamptons, he thought he was going to a white party. Who wouldn't want to go to a white party? I would have gone to a white party back in the day. I wouldn't go now. But they went there innocently, and this is what happened to them.
I never went. I appreciate you very much. We will follow the cases.
Is your client fearful if Diddy does get out?
As you know, I represent other clients, actual victims who have sued Mr. Combs, Diddy, in civil court, and all of them are very apprehensive about their safety if he were to be granted bond. I am confident in the court. I am sure that the court will remain with their previous decision of no bond. I feel like the judge only gave this let me think about it just to not make it as obvious. But I have all the confidence in the world and the federal court and the state of New York that they will remain keeping Diddy under no bond and that all of the victims in this case will be able to proceed sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I mean, you don't just represent this man, you represent other alleged victims too and people involved. Have there been any threats made against any of your clients?
There have been threats from people on the internet, but not from, at least what we don't know, from Diddy to be directly. So my clients have, Mr. Burgess has received several death threats. My client, Mrs. Parham, has been receiving threats, but we don't know if they're just regular people from the internet or if they're actually people who were sent by Diddy.
Do you have any idea where the threats are coming from? I mean, have you done any investigation?
Well, most of the investigation leads us to a lot of burner accounts on Instagram, and we're trying to now sift through possibly working with law enforcement to try to get subpoenas to determine the IP addresses of where those threats were emanating.
So, okay, interesting. We know that the cease and desist letter has now come. Has there been any other pressure of any kind that you or your clients have felt to stop talking?
In general, I feel that the gag order, when we talk about that, Mark Agnifilio wrote about me specifically, and also all of the other plaintiffs in the civil lawsuits to try to have all of us gagged. There's pressure every day that us continuing to talk about this is putting not only our lives in jeopardy, but could be potentially used against us in a gag order.
while maintaining he'd let the matter settle itself in court. But now in a new lawsuit, a Texas man is claiming Jay-Z's lawyers are bribing people to sue Busby and his law firm. This 13-page lawsuit was filed on January 3rd in Harris County, Texas, and the plaintiff in the filing is being represented by none other than Busby's law firm, who filed the suit on his behalf. Now, Jose Maldonado, who is the plaintiff in this suit, is suing Jay-Z's attorneys and his company, Rock Nation, but not Sean Carter, a.k.a. Jay-Z himself. According to the lawsuit, the defendants in this suit are Marcy Bryan Croft, her law firm MJ Legal, Rock Nation, and the law firm who is representing Jay-Z, Quinn Emanuel Urquhart and Sullivan. They allege the defendants conspired to obstruct justice by engaging in shadowy operatives to illegally get more than 24 current and former clients of Busby law firm to turn around and sue them. The suit claims Rock Nation is financing this alleged effort, while attorneys Marcy Croft and the law firm Quinn Emanuel are orchestrating this whole thing. According to the suit, the defendants' agents were pretending to work for the state of Texas and allegedly flashed fake badges, which the suit says wasn't very smart or careful, but also illegal. The suit states the defendants' agents offered as much as $10,000 to a former client to sue the Busby law firm. But the so-called agents were allegedly caught on audio tape red-handed. The suit claims attorney Marcy Croft, who is a lawyer but also a member of Team Rock, was orchestrating that whole effort. Then in another recording, those agents were describing in great detail the alleged criminal conspiracy. The suit claims they went so far to admit the lawsuits would be reported in the press, and some former clients already accepted money to join that alleged effort. As I mentioned, Sean Carter, a.k.a. Jay-Z, isn't named as a defendant in the lawsuit. However, the suit claims Rock Nation and Jay-Z are synonymous, given the mogul is the founder and chairman. The lawsuit acknowledges Busby's law firm filed the rape lawsuit against Jay-Z in New York federal court, and as a result, Jay-Z sued Busby's law firm in Los Angeles state court. But the suit claims while all of that legal back and forth was going on, Jay-Z's attorneys who represent himself and his Rock Nation denied in open court and in the press their involvement in the alleged scheme. He claims claims the defendants used him as a pawn. He alleges on behalf of Marcy Croft, 2 people attempted to contact him many times and went so far as to go to what they believed to be Maldonado's home. Instead, they went to his dad's house and allegedly identified themselves as federal officers. After realizing they were at the wrong home, they continued to contact Maldonado, and Maldonado claims they were pushy. Once they got in touch with him, he claims those individuals said they were with the state, and they were putting together a lawsuit on behalf of Marcy Croft and the company she worked for. The suit alleges Croft said she would assign Maldonado's case to someone who could get him a lot of money. Instead, Maldonado contacted the Busby law firm, and now they're suing for solicitation and civil conspiracy. In a statement to the Houston Chronicle, Busby said, quote, "The conduct alleged by Mr. Maldonado is illegal and unethical. We know investigators have gone all over the United States illegally contacting our former clients to try to entice them with money to sue our firm. According to Mr. Maldonado, we now know who is behind this effort. We won't be intimidated nor deterred in our important work. I expect more lawsuits will follow as we continue to hear former clients report this egregious conduct," end quote. But Marcy Croft fired back against the allegations, saying the lawsuit reeks of desperation. She also told the Houston Chronicle, quote, "For over 25 years, I've dedicated my career to exposing and dismantling networks of fraud and manipulation. I didn't ask to be a part of this fight, but now that he's dragged me into it, he should know that I'm not someone who backs down. Mr. Busby should be worried. Truth and justice are on my side, and I have every intention of holding him accountable."
But going back to Cardella Smith's filing, his notice says that Jennifer Lynn Lopez, a.k.a. J-Lo, a.k.a. Jenny from the Block, quote, "will be called as a material witness and expert to Sean Combs' viewing, possession, and distribution of his sexual assault upon the plaintiff in 1997 and the orders of defendant Sean Combs forcing Jennifer Lopez to remain silent about the videotaped sexual assault of plaintiff by defendant." Plaintiff states that the material witness Jennifer Lynn Lopez, also known as J-Lo and Jenny from the Block, was engaged in a relationship with the defendant Sean Combs during 1999 and 2001, and that the sexual assault of the plaintiff was recorded, distributed, and held by the defendant at his New York residence and recording studio. And during the relationship with Jennifer Lopez, she was made privy to this video that was taken by Sean Combs and his employee Kirk Burrows. She, J-Lo, has known this video existed and was in existence and took no action to make it known to anyone in law enforcement, and that she was even questioned by New York Police Detective Derek Palmer about this matter, and that the report will show that her answers to this tape was and still remains a resounding yes to its existence. And again, Cardella Smith writes that he wants to call Officer Derek Palmer as a witness because he says Palmer is the one who questioned Lopez and believes that he will have testimony that could help his case. Now, as I mentioned, Diddy's legal team has called for this entire case to be thrown out. Cardella Smith has filed a massive response to that request that totaled more than 200 pages. Probably half of it was just straight up copies of case law that seems to support his arguments, word for word. It's something out of like a legal textbook. There's so much to slog through, but I kind of want to give you some of the highlights. So first, in addition to the claims of rape and a cover-up, Cardella Smith also claims and alleges that Combs was violent towards his loved ones. At times, Cardella Smith addresses alleged threats against his family. Other times, he says Combs actually caused serious injuries to his brother. His response reads, defendant used threats of murder to force the plaintiff to not bring the case to any court of law enforcement until the homes of the defendant were raided by Homeland Security, that the plaintiff knew it was a safe time to bring the case, and that is why we are here at this juncture. And Cardella Smith argued that fear for his own safety and the safety of his family is one of the main reasons that he waited so long to report the alleged rape, and says that that reason alone should override any issue with the statute of limitations, that these claims might be otherwise be time barred. And he also argues that while he's been in prison, fellow inmates and prison guards have threatened him on behalf of Sean Combs.
Tell me the story about how Puffy wanted to fight Will Smith over Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, man. We were at a birthday party that I think either Matt Damon was giving for Ben Affleck. It was just a little gathering. They was at the Four Seasons. Will Smith and his sister and her husband, we were all sitting on this side of the room. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez, Puff, Will Smith, and Jada, and they were sitting on the other side of the room. So I know Puff so well that he stood up. When he stood up, he walked and did his own some kind of way, like, and then he went like this, like that. I went over towards him. I know to go over there towards him. So I go over towards him, and he said to me, he said, "Yo, I think Will and Jada is trying to scoop up Jennifer. I want you to stay close, because I'm going to snuff him." I said to myself, Will Smith gonna beat the shit out you. Now, Puff could scrap now, but I don't think he could beat Will Smith. You know what I'm saying? But he could scrap. You know what I'm saying? So then he said that shit. So I didn't go back over there where Will Smith's sister and her husband was. I stayed about, if he snuffed Will, I could move slow enough that Will could probably get 2 or 3 punches back in. Yeah, but that shit was funny. He thought that Jada and Will was coming on too strong to Jennifer, making advantage.